I'm going to do some simple experiments to maybe show the difference between a chemical process and a physical process, or a chemical change and a physical change. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's going to happen to the particles when that happens. Steel wool. And what I'm going to do with the steel wool is I'm just going to stretch it out. When I stretch it out, am I changing the particles, do you think? Stretching it out or balling it up, that's really just a physical change. Steel wool is made mainly of iron. So let's just think of this as iron. So I've got iron particles. That's the only particles I've got. They all look the same. They're all identical. We could represent them with circles. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to do a chemical process or a chemical change. I'm going to take my steel wool and I'm going to heat it in the flame. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this, but the iron has actually changed, okay? The iron has changed. I've got two cameras going up here, so I'm gonna hold it up to each camera. If you guys see, the steel wool is not as shiny as it was before. It's kind of dull. There's a shiny piece of steel wool, and there's the piece that I just heated up. It's dull, and it's shiny. A chemical change has happened. You saw those sparks, okay? Iron is used in a lot in fireworks. It's probably the most common color you're going to see in fireworks is orange. And that energy that was released told us that there was a chemical change happening. A chemical reaction was happening. The iron was actually reacting with oxygen. Now, in chemistry, we do this experiment, but we actually get the mass of the steel wool before and then the mass afterwards. And we find out that the mass is actually heavier after the reaction, because we don't just have iron anymore, we have something called iron oxide. Oxygen atoms have stuck to the iron. So we've changed the particles. We don't just have iron particles anymore, we've got iron oxide particles. Magnesium. I'm going to ask Marissa just to turn the lights off for this one, okay? Can you do that, Marissa? Okay. But the white light that you saw, that's the light that you get when magnesium reacts with oxygen. So just like I reacted the steel wool with oxygen, when I react magnesium with oxygen, you can see the magnesium has changed. Okay? That is how it started. And there's this white powder. This white powder is called magnesium oxide. If I had to get the mass, it would actually be heavier, because we don't just have magnesium anymore, we've got oxygen particles stuck to this. And when those particles stick to it, they make it heavier. And so we've made new particles. Okay? Chemical changes cause a change to the particles. It's called the periodic table of elements. You will find iron on that periodic table, and you will find magnesium on that periodic table. We started with Fe, and then we changed it to FeO. O is the symbol for oxygen. So Fe changed to FeO. Mg changed to MgO, this white powder that you see. And so the new particles also have a new name. So So elements are when you've just got one kind of particle, one kind of atom. But when you have two or more kinds of atoms stuck together like we've got here, we call that a compound. So the element iron reacted with oxygen to give us iron oxide. The element magnesium reacted with oxygen to give us magnesium oxide.